Hey guys, welcome back to the second part of this video. There has been an awesome steps right from the beginning. So now in this second part, I'm going to try to complete the rest of things highlighted in our notepad. Let's go back to our notepad. So now the next thing we want to do is to create an instance in AWS. So we want to be sure that you already have an AWS free tier account and you already have a GitHub account. Okay, so I'm going to open a new tab and go to my AWS account. Okay. So you don't sign in as a root user. Okay, now I'm going to give a quick explanation of the root user and an IAM user. So by the time you take an AWS course furthermore in your project, you understand the difference between these two. So the root user was default user you created when you create an AWS account. So just like in Linux where you have the root user, from the word root user have the ability and the superpower to do everything in that account. But it is AWS recommendation that you don't log in with the root user all the time, right? But it is okay for you. We are just a beginner and we are trying things out, right? But for me right now, because this is a company account, this is dev.io AWS account, we call it the dev account. I'm not going to log in with the root user because I don't have access to it. I am restricted. So I'm going to log in with IAM, which is called Identity Access Management user. Okay. So the name of the you're going to log in with an account. So this is the account here. But for you, just log in with your email and your password. That is fine. Very much okay. Okay. So no, sorry. I have a lot of AWS accounts signed in there, but one of them should work for us. We are in. Okay. So when you log in, default, yeah, I'd like to switch to the new console. So when you log in, the default region is Ohio. Okay, you can change your region, whatever suits you, that's fine. Okay, so let's go to EC2, right? Click on EC2. EC2 means elastic compute. Yeah. So we don't have any instance running yet. So we want to launch an instance. So I want to give a clear difference between EC2, so VirtualBox or Ubuntu, right? So in some previous videos you have watched, probably on our dashboard, so you see that we're using something called VirtualBox, then creating an Ubuntu machine, then running some commands inside that Ubuntu machine. Okay, so right before the days of cloud, right? So if you want to have access to a virtual machine, you have to actually create it on your own local machine by yourself. So virtual machine is an hypervisor that helps you to create another instance of a computer inside your local computer. That's what it means. So if you search what VirtualBox means here, so we check VirtualBox, so you can see what I'm saying. Is my spelling correct? So this is VirtualBox. So you can see the VirtualBox is a virtualization tool. So right now I'm using a Windows machine, but I want to have access to an Ubuntu machine. I want to know what it looks like. So I can create what we call a box, like a virtual, from the word VirtualBox. Technically or physically, it's not actually something that is real, but we are trying to deceive the computer that this is real. So we try to now put in an Ubuntu image or Ubuntu machine inside our VirtualBox. So that's what Dari was using. But the side effect to that is that when you create a VirtualBox, right, it shares the resources with your system, the CPU, the RAM, the space, and everything, right? And by the time you start having multiple VirtualBox, yeah, your system begins to drag if you don't have an high-end system. Then comes in the cloud. So the cloud is just some servers existing somewhere. So when you say the word cloud, it does not mean like the sky, no. So when you say cloud are just some servers being managed by another set of people. So we have a lot of servers for AWS now. We have some servers in Ohio, in North Virginia, in Oregon, in North California. So they're actually physical servers, right? So instead of creating the virtual machine on your own local PC using VirtualBox, we come here and create the virtual machines right inside their own servers. Okay, so that's basically what we're doing. So the EC2 you are creating here is totally not different from the Ubuntu machine you create on your VirtualBox. Okay, but to save if you're not using the IN system and to save our stress, ourselves of some stress, because VirtualBox has a lot of issues, Sometimes some plugins does not work, sometimes some things does not work, and all those things. You could just come over here, in some minutes, you create a virtual machine. So a virtual machine is just trying to create another instance of an operating system, right in your operating system. So you can create Ubuntu, you can create Windows Server, you can create Red Hat, and a lot of things that you can create on these machines right there. So AWS is just have hundreds of servers, thousands of servers across the globe that you can just create your virtual machines upon. Okay, so let's click on this launch instance. So from the word instance means a running process of an operating system. Okay, I hope that is correct. So let's click on launch instance. Okay, now so you can see that we have Amazon Linux 2, we have Amazon Linux 2 AMI, and a lot of, we even have Mac OS running. Okay, and the like. So, but for our video, I'll be using Ubuntu. So I'm going to click on Ubuntu. But another thing you need to note again is that unlike the one you have in your VirtualBox, you're going to have access to the GUI. When I mean GUI, you can go ahead and click on folders. You can move things about in that VirtualBox. But the one you create on AWS console is what we call the server version, right? So you don't have access to GUI. So everything you want to do, you do it from the terminal. That's what it means. So that's why you need to have understanding of the line of commands, right? Good. So they both have their advantage. So do not change anything here. Just select T2 micro. Okay. Let's configure instance. Okay. But before I create this instance, I like to do something. I'm going to cancel this now. So there's something called security group. So security group is like a firewall, like a gate man. Let me use that word, a gate man here, or a security man that tries to protect our instance, just like a security guard. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a security groups right here. So click on security groups. So by default, we would have a security groups, but I don't want us to use that. So let's click on create security group. Okay, let's call it my security group. You can give it any beautiful name you want. Okay, a security group. So I'm going to say for PBL learning. Okay, yeah, leave it on default VPC. So inbound rules means that rules that are allowed to enter into the instance. Don't forget, the security group is like a firewall, like it's like a security guard protecting the instance, protecting the virtual machine. So the security guard says, hey, this is what is permitted to enter into this premises. This is what is permitted to leave this premises. So that's why we have inbound rules and outbound rules, right? So let's set some inbound rules, right? So for now, I'm going to keep things very simple and basic, although they might not be best practice, but trust me, it is always good to start simple. So we're going to select all traffic. All traffic means every traffic that ever exists, right? So although that is not a very secure way of things, but by the time you take a full AWS course and you want to write AWS applications, you're going to design a better security group, trust me. So select anywhere. Okay, that's all we want to do. Then tag is just a way of naming your resources. So let's kill this name. Just follow me and let's call this. Let's say my security group also too. Okay, and create security group. We're going to see green. That was successful. Now let's go back and launch an instance. Click on launch instance. I'm going to tell you the reason why I create a security group first. So let's select Ubuntu. Select. Okay. It's coming up. So T2 micro is okay. Configure instance. So do not touch anything here for now. Just leave it. Add storage. You can leave that. As I said earlier, it's good to tag your resources. So tag is just away from the word tag, like trying to label something. Yeah. Let's try to label it. Let's give it a name. Let's call it my first. You can give it another name you want. My first instance. Okay. Now let's configure security group. So you can see that by default, it's asking you to create a security group or select an existing security group. So for every instance you create, right, you begin to create a new security group, and that can become messy. So what I'm just trying to do is that I've created a security group that you can use throughout your PBL, not really throughout your PBL project, because by the time you get to project 14 or 15, you'll be forced to design a better security group. So let's say at least for the simpler project, we can continue to use these. So you don't have to create security groups all the time. So I'm going to select existing security group, select existing security group, and select my first security group. Okay, let's go to review and launch. So you can see that it's not secure, but for now, that's fine. Let's click on launch. So you can see that it's asking us to create an existing key pair, to create a key pair. So a key pair is another level of security. So a key pair, just like your key card. So some hotels have key cards, some houses have key cards, such that if you don't have key card, you can't have access to that building, right? And some apartments still use keys. So if you don't have key to your apartment, of course you can't get in. So that's what we call key pair. So a key pair comprises of a public key and a private key, right? Don't forget, we generated one on our system the other time, but this one we want to generate now is for AWS. So what's going to happen is that when we create a key pair, right, the private key will be downloaded to our own local PC, and the public key will be kept on that instance. So that when we try to use the private key to connect to that instance, that instance understand that, oh, this is my private key, allow connection, right? So for you, you might not have something like that. So I'm going to create a new key pair just to show you. So select RSA, and the key name is like, let's just call it PBL. Now, you don't have to create key pair for every instance you create. No, a key pair is enough for all your instances as long as you have access to it. So click on download key pair. So you can see PBL. So this wants to store, I'm going to store this in my downloads directory, right? Store it in the downloads directory, then save. All right, so that has been downloaded. Let's click on launch instance. So our instance is launching. Let's check our notepad again. So we have created an instance, right? So while that is launching, let us log in into our GitHub account. Let's log in into our GitHub account. I'm going to log into my GitHub account. Okay, so let's click on sign in. I'm going to put my username and my password, my email and password. Okay, so I have MFA, two-factor authentication, attached to my GitHub account. Okay, so I'm going to get the MFA, right? So you might not have that, but you can also set that up also too if you want. Okay, so hold on while I do that. So let's check the instance we are launching. Okay, so the instance is still running and initializing. So right now, I want to show you how to connect to your instance, right? So let's wait for this to change to be sure that it's fully initialized. Okay, just going to be some couple of minutes, right? So while that is initializing, let's go to our terminal. So I don't need this one anymore, this administrator one anymore. So I'm just going to close this, right? So let's open this now. So this is what we need. So I'm going to clear the screen, Control L, right? Now, don't forget that we download the PEM key in our downloads directory, right? See it here, downloads directory. So I'm going to go to my terminal. I'm going to do CD. I want to change directory into that downloads folder. CD downloads, and I'm in downloads already. Excuse me. So for you to connect to your instance, you must be in the directory where you have downloaded your PEM key, so that the SSH command you are running, we can actually see that PEM key directly. Okay, so let's go back to the instance. Let's refresh. Still initializing. Okay, while it's still initializing, let's actually access the GitHub account. Okay, I'm trying to get the MFA code from my phone. So we are not going to cover that in this video. 828-365. But you are seeing it, but this change field. Oh, let's try another one again. Okay. got this. Now you allow me in. Cool. So this is my account, GitHub account. Now, another thing I want to show you is that, don't mind this ugly picture. So another thing I want to show you that is how to connect your GitHub account to your terminal, right? So the first thing you're going to go is you're going to come here, click on this, come to settings. Okay, so in settings, you come to SSH and GPG keys. Click on this. So you can see that I already have some couple of SSH keys added already, right? So if you click on new SSH key, so you go to that directory. Don't forget that we run a command then SSH key gen, and we generated a public key and a private key. Remember, that was the one we generated from our terminal, right? So I showed you the public key then. So you can just copy this public key, right? And then come and paste it in your GitHub terminal. So this allows easy communication between your terminal and your GitHub profile. So when you're doing git push, you don't get any error. So that's the first thing you want to do. Okay, so you can just give it my key or something, and copy and click on add SSH key. Okay, so if let me just do that so you see. So this is the public key. I'm just going to click on public key. So I'm going to click my key. I'm going to add my key. Then click on add SSH key. Then you add SSH key. That's it. So the next thing you want to do is you want to generate a token. Okay, so go to developer settings. Click on developer settings. Okay, so you click on personal access token. Click on personal access token. I have some already there. So click on generate new token. For you, it might be empty for now. So I'm going to call this my token. Okay, so you might leave it to 30 days, or you can just leave no expiration. So you have to give it some permission, right? So for now, let's just take this as I'm doing it, so I don't bore you too much with so much information. Just follow what I'm doing. So as time goes on, you get familiar with all these things and you will know what they do. So click on generate token. Now, if you don't save this token now, you don't have access to it anymore, right? So you need to save it somewhere, say like somewhere safe, you know. So I'm going to place it here for now, but be sure to save it, right? So I'm going to save this file so I don't lose access to it. So I can save this file in my workspace. So I can just call it use, just give it a name, right? Cool. So that has been saved and good. We are good to go. So now let's go back to our instance. Our instance should be ready by now. Refresh. Now we want to connect to our instance from our terminal. Don't forget, change to the directory of your terminal, cd or downloads. Okay, cool. Now, so let's go into our instance, our virtual machine. So I'm going to select the instance, click on connect. Yes, so user, this is a public IP address and this is a username. So you select this section, SSH clients, and then you can see that it attached the name of my key, pbl.pem, right? So just click on this example, copy this command, then come to this terminal, then paste, then click on enter, then click on yes. And we are in our instance, our virtual machine. You can see that it has pinged Ubuntu at IP this. Now, this is a pure Linux system, a pure Linux instance, Ubuntu. So all the videos or some videos that I have watched already, that is Dari running some commands, you can actually run the commands here also too, and they will work perfectly. So I can say sudo apt update. Yes, let's update. You can see that sudo apt update. So just install some couple of commands. So you can run Linux commands here also too. You can do ls-l. You can see that nothing is here. You can print your working directory. You can say make directory tests. You can see that. You can say touch, which is to create a file, touch DevOps, just create files, and you can run your Linux commands from here successfully without any issues. Now let's go to our, let me close this. Let's go to our notepad we are following. So you have SSH into the instance. Now I want to do a brief intro. You're almost through. I want to do a brief intro of markdown for documentation. So let's assume that you're working on project 1. Trust me, we're not going to work on project 1 in this video. There's a video for project 1 already. So let's assume you're working on project 1. Yes. Become a DevOps engineer. Yeah, that's what we do here. So let's assume this project 1, right? So basically, in project 1, you're meant to follow the steps, copy the commands, and just execute what is there for you. So some people ask that, how do I come up with documentation? Okay, so once you have done with your self-site study and the likes, so you have done all this, okay, I've done all this. Okay, so let's say let's install Apache. So let's assume that we have to install the Apache server. We have done sudo apt update, and the next thing is install Apache server. So let's go to our folder here. Let's close this. So this is where VS Code comes in right now, right? This is where VS Code comes in. So let's close all this information. You can see the text folder we created at that time. So now you can see that we have project 1, we have project 2, we have project 3, we have project 4, down to project 30, right? So you can go to your folder here. Let's go to our workspace folder here. Okay. Excuse me. So let's go to our workspace folder here. So because I have several projects I want to work on, so I feel it's going to make sense to create folder for separate projects, right? So let me show you this concept. So this might not be the best approach. It is not a rigid approach. You can choose your own approach, but this is what I would like to do. So in my workspace, I'm going to click a new folder, and okay, actually we will not create it from here. Okay, we are not going to create a folder from here, right? So let's go to our GitHub repository before you begin your project at all, right? So this is your project 1. Before you begin your project at all, you want to create an environment that you're going to be storing your documentation. So documentation is just like trying to write a report of what you have done. So step 1 says install Apache. So step 1, install Apache. You write the command and give a screenshot of what you have done. So that's basically what the documentation is. So, but before I begin the documentation at all, I'm going to go back to my GitHub repository. I'm going to leave this place, right? So let's click on a new repository, right? Let's call this project 1, right? So I can just give a description for project 1. That's all. Add a README file, then create repository. So what I've done is that everything about project 1, the images and the text and the files will be stored inside this directory. So GitHub is just a remote server, like an online server where you can store stuff. So repository is just like a collection of folders. I see this as like an online folder. That's basically what it means, right? So this folder allows people to collaborate. So let's assume there are tens of developers working. So having the folder on my own local PC, the other developer in another region does not have access to it. But if you all place it in the share folder like this, like GitHub, so if you are in Ohio or you're in Nigeria or in South Africa or you're in London or you're in US, every one of us can have access to this folder and we can make our changes, right? Okay, so the first thing we want to do is that we have created this folder online in a repository, the GitHub repository, but it is not available on our local machine here. So the first thing we want to do is that we want to bring it down. That's where the git clone commands come in, right? So for now, the git commands might be strange to you, but on your dashboard, I think there's a video, there's a course for git there. I think on our dashboard, you can see there's a course for git. So I think, let me quickly check that. But for now, just follow me as I use the command. So you can see step 13. There's a git course for you to watch and you have a better understanding, trust me. But for now, just follow what I'm doing. So I'm going to go to code. you're going to select, you can see it's in SSH. I'm going to select this icon here just to copy, then come here. So click on, we are inside this folder. So click on terminal, click on new terminal. So you can see that it brings you to this workspace by default. So I'm going to do git clone. Clone means to bring down, to download, right? Git clone, that URL I copied. Some git. Okay. I thought this has been resolved. Okay, so this does not want to work on PowerShell. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. So go to your my Windows terminal here. You can see my Windows terminal. I'm going to open a folder, or better still, go to my workspace. Go to my workspace here, right? Then left click, then open a Windows terminal. Okay, so you see that. So if I do git clone into the project, you can see that. So it's asking me now. This is possible because I have copied my public key into my GitHub account, right? So it's asking me, do I trust the public key? So I'm saying yes, right? So if you go back to our VS Code, you can see that we have the project here. So let me see if I can bring up the terminal here. Let's set up a new terminal. Let me see. Yes. I don't know why this. Okay, I think I know why. Hold on, I think I know why it's not working. Document. Oh, so this is there's something with this. There's a problem. So you can see it's showing OneDrive, and this is not actually OneDrive. So let me change CD. Let me do CD. CD. I'm not in OneDrive, so I don't know why it's showing me OneDrive. So if I do ls, okay, cool. So now let me go to CD. Documents. You can see document there. So this might not be the case for you. Okay. So let's do an ls. Okay. Let me see where this folder is. Let me see the parts. Let me see what the part looks like. I can actually just continue so I don't make this video so long. Okay, this is in OneDrive. Cancel. So I don't know why that git commands refuse to work here. Let me close the terminal and try it again. Let me see it's gonna work now. So the git command refused to work here. That's strange. Okay, but what I want to show you that what I want to show you is that you have access to terminal and you have access to an editor here, right on the same console. But for some reason, I don't know why the git is not working here, but I think I have access to git here right from my Windows terminal. So sometimes these things are funny, and I might have to troubleshoot to see why this is not working properly, but I believe you get the concept. Okay, so I have cloned down this project, right? I've cloned down project 1, right? So now it's not time to start making changes for our project. Okay, so before you start a project, right, you're going to need to, sorry about that, you're going to need to take screenshots of what you are doing. So for instance, now I run the command sudo apt update, right? So let's assume that in project 1 they asked us to install Apache, sudo apt install Apache 2, and you click on sudo Apache 2. Yes, so you're installing. So let's go back to documentation. Let's just see what we have there. So you can see it asks us to install Apache 2. I'm doing that. So it's asking us to do sudo systemctl status. So let's check that. You see, Okay, Apache is still installing. I want to show you real quick how to come up with the documentation. Okay, 98%. So I'm going to grab a glass of water right now. Cool. So let's run the next command. Paste. So you can see that the Apache is running. So this kind of thing right now, we want to take documentation of what you are doing. So that's where the markdown commands come in. I'm going to close this since it's not working. So in my browser, I have a tab open called markdown. So the markdown cheat sheet provides a quick overview of all the markdown syntax elements. But first, let's just quickly check what is markdown. So you can see that markdown is a lightweight markup language that you can use to add formatting elements into plain text documents created by John Gruber. So you can take a read at this thing. So let's assume that we want to create this in our project one folder, right? So I'm going to create two things inside this project one folder. I'm going to create project1.md. I'm going to create a folder called images. So let's do that. So if you want to create a folder, you can see this icon here is for creating a folder. Select the folder where you want to create the folder into, right? A folder inside a folder, right? So select project one, click on this, and let's call this images. Okay, so this is where we're going to store all our images, our screenshot, and all the likes. We're just trying to organize ourselves, right? Images. Then inside project one, I'm now going to create a file called project1.md. This is what we call the markdown. So the first step I did, yes, was the first command I run. So let's go back to this markdown cheat sheet, right? So you can see that we have for heading, you can put the text, you can italize the text, you can do a block code, you can do a list and stuff like that. So codes, just like some commands that we run, right? Just like sudo apt update and something like that. So let's do an heading. This is heading. So I'll just copy this. So I'm just going to go into project1.md. I'm going to paste this, Control V. I'm going to say project. I'm going to say awesome documentation of project one. And that's the heading. Okay. So now, what was the first command we run, which was code? So let's go ahead and copy this code. So this is just an example. Okay. So I'm going to go back here and say the first one was sudo apt update. So you can see I'm going to change this to sudo apt update. Yeah, that was the first thing we run. The next thing was to sudo apt install Apache 2. So that was the command we ran. Okay, right. So another command we ran again was put this icon again, this stuff again, was sudo system ctl Apache 2. Now, I'm just showing an example. Of course, your own documentation will be more interesting and more interactive than this, but I'm just showing you how to use the markdown format, right? And don't forget that when we installed, when we ran this command, sudo system ctl status Apache 2, there was an output, right? So if you remember in our terminal, there was an output. So we need to show that, okay, our command was successful. Then we can now use what we call the sniping tool. So we are doing a sniping tool like this. Look at it here. So you can use a sniping tool to now take a screenshot of your output. So I'm going to click on new. Okay, so select this. Okay, so I'm going to save this in that directory I created. So click on save, document, yes, project one, images, right? So if it's for project 2, you save it in project 2. It's for project 3, save it in project 3. So I'm going to name this Apache status. Let's just name the Apache status. Okay, so then you save it there, right? Good. Now, how do we reference this image in our documentation? So let's come under this place, right? Let's go back to our markdown cheat sheet. So anything you want to do, you can come back and check it here. So you can see image. These are to reference an image. So let's copy this. Okay, just follow me. So let's paste this. We need to edit this. So alternative text means that the name want to give these things here. So you can say Apache status, right? So image.pg. Let's check this directory images. You can see that we have Apache status.png there, right? So now the first thing we need to now specify that is this. Let's clear this first. Our images or our screenshots inside a folder called images in this current directory. So I'm going to do ./images. I'm trying to tell this markdown format where my images, right? .images/ then the name of the image now, Apache status.png, right? So now how can we check what we are doing since, right? This does not really look interesting. So let's save this first, Ctrl S to save. So you can see this icon here. You can see this is a preview for Markdown. So click on this and you can see this is how your documentation will be represented, right? So, but for you want to have more text to add. You want to try to put more explanation, put more screenshot. I'm just showing you how to use the Markdown, how to push your code and stuff like that. So this is okay for demonstration. Now, one thing you need to note that everything we are doing on our local machine is not in this folder yet. You can see that it's still only residing on our local machine, right? So how do we make these changes here? How do we bring it to this folder here existing in our repository? That's when git add, git commit, and git push comes in. Okay. So for some reason, I do apologize. I don't know why this git command is not working yet, because we don't have to be moving from one terminal to another terminal. But just pardon me, but I am very sure it should work for you, probably because some settings have done to this system. Okay, so let's come back to this. So don't forget that this terminal is in this directory. So now we're going to do git. So if we do git status, you can see that, oh, I'm in David workspace. Am I? Okay, I'm in David workspace, right? So I need to cd into project 1. So all the changes I've made are inside project 1. I'm going to clear my screen. Cd project 1. Hope it's not getting too much for you. So if you do an ls, you can see that there are some things inside, images and stuff like that. Okay, so if I do git status, you can see on tracked files, images, it's telling me I've added some new things to my listing. So the first thing I want to run is git, or second thing I want to run is git add, then space, then dot. Dot means everything in this current directory. Then click enter. All right, then there's going to be git commit. That means we have added our change, but commit means like to save it, right? So let's do git commit -m. M means we want to add a message. So we're going to say put a double quote. So writing project 1. You can give a better commit message, then click on enter. Now you can see that it's telling us that we should tell us who we are. So Git is trying to create a profile for us. So you can copy this. Yes, just copy this, paste it here. My email is going to be shegun@dari.io. Yes, that's my email. Then my user name is going to be, I'm going to use David. Okay, enter. So now let's try the git commit message again. Cool. So the git commit message is working now. So the next thing now is to push. Push is just like upload. Yes, so to push our image to this online repository so that we can have the latest changes, right? So if another developer too is working after his own changes also, so you try to push the changes to this place also too. Okay, so let's do a git push. Ctrl L. I want to clear my screen. Control L to clear my screen. So I'm going to do git push. And that was successful. So let me minimize this. Let's refresh this repository. So you can see already we have our changes here already, right? So lest I forget, this readme.md, just like when you purchase any electronics, it's something like a manual there, right? So this readme.md is supposed to be like a manual for this repository. So you're meant to put some explanation there, some description of what this particular repository is all about, right? Project1.md is our actual documentation, right? So you can see our images here. So if I click on project1.md, so you can see our documentation, beautiful, nicely written, right? This is our commands right here. Okay, so let's go and make another change again. So I don't like this way. I don't like the representation of this, right? I'm going to do enter so that I can give it some space. Another enter so that I can give it some space. Another enter so I can give it some space. Now I've made another change. I need to do git add, git commit, and git push again. So I'm going to do git add, do git commit, add a commit message -m, make changes, then you do a git push. Okay, I do a git commit -m. Okay, so you didn't actually see it as a change. Okay, so I actually added some change, but it's not seen as a change, so we just feel. But that should actually be a change. Git add. So let me do a git status. I just made a change. Okay. So is this not enough to be a change? So let's just add one more thing. Let's add this. Let me see. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to do that. Okay. So let's write something else. Let's check another thing from the markdown format. Let's write one more thing and we'll be done with this video. So let's add a link. Okay, so let's add some couple of links here. These links are promised to add for you. So I'm going to add them here. So I'm going to give a link to this repository. So I'm going to call this one install open SSH. So I'm going to go and grab the link. This is it here, install open SSH. Grab this link. This is how to add a link, right? So I'm going to replace this with this. You can start that. So I can make this like a list. Install open SSH. You can see that. You can see the way it is rendering. So the next one is let's check another one. The next one is generate key, open SSH key management, right? Let's copy this one again. So that's how to add a link. Open SSH key management. Okay, so let's grab the link. So I just want to simulate some new changes. Yes, open SSH key management. That will be all. So let's go back to our terminal. So if you do git status again. Oh, don't mind me. I have not saved my changes. You can see. Oh no. I can do Control S. The another thing you can do again, if you don't want to do Control S all the time, you can come to File, then you can click on Auto Save. So it automatically saves your changes all the time, right? So if I do git status now, I should have something now. Yes, exactly. Now something. So I'm going to do git add and git commit -m, make changes. Cool. Then do a git push. Cool. So let's go back to our repository. So let's refresh. You want to say something here now. So I click on this, it takes them to that same link. You see that? So that's how to add a link. So I'm pretty sure that we have covered everything written in this our list, our notepad here. So if you have more questions, please reach out to us on Slack channel. You can use any of the Slack channel to ask your questions. But I do hope this video has been helpful, and I do hope you can make use of the video in order to advance your learning here at Tide.io. It's nice having you around. So you can go on from here, create more projects in your repository, create more instances, and don't forget to ensure that you stop your instances. Right. So for instance, now let's assume I'm done with my project one, right? I'm done with my documentation and everything is perfect, right? Then I'm not to incur cost. It is safe to terminate this instance, because if you stop the instance, don't forget it has an EBS volume attached to it. EBS volume just like hard disk, and you're going to pay for that, even though you're not paying for the instance, right? So we are just trying to learn. We don't want to accumulate cost. Excuse me. So let's assume that I am through with the project. I've written my documentation and I'm through. I can come here and terminate the instance. You can see. Now, another thing I want to quickly show you is how to submit your project. So let's assume you are through with your documentation and everything. If you want to submit your project, come to project one here. This same link here, you can click on this same link here, copy this link, then go to your project one. Okay. So I think if you go to the first page here, go to the first page here. So you can click on submit project for review, then select project number. I'm on project one, then paste that link here, then click on submit. Please enter a URL. Okay, sorry, I copied the long URL. So click on this one here, click on this link here. Or you can see that this option is on SSH. You can change it to HTTPS. Then you can copy this, whichever way is fine. Yeah. So let's come back here and let's paste this. Then click on submit. That's it. You have submitted your assignment successfully. So well done, guys. Thank you for staying put. So I'm going to add the links for this cheat sheet here. Okay, I think I should add that one here before we go. Okay, so I'm going to, the link to this repository will be added to this video, and use all the links I've promised will be added in this readme in this project1.md file. Thank you for watching, and have a nice journey here at Tide.io. Thank you.